Hey guys, how is everybody doing? So last night we got our fifth episode of The Last of Us Season 2 titled Feel Her Love, which last week's episode it was titled Day 1, which it was obviously following the story and the section of the game where it was following Day 1 in Seattle, and to where this week's episode we followed Day 2 of Seattle, which I was expecting them to, but you never know when it comes to the video game adaptation. But last week's episode, I would consider one of the best episodes of the season so far. I really enjoyed that episode. I thought that was the the best one since episode 2. So I had a lot of expectations going into this episode, and I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a pretty good job at adapting the day 2 section in The Last of Us Part 2, which I think was probably the one of the better sections because of just how messed up and gritty it was. But yeah, where we left off from last week and where we left off with the story is Ellie finds out that Dina is pregnant, and that after she gets bit and Dina finds out that Ellie is actually immune to all of the infection and all the bites. Basically, she's just immune to the whole world at this point. And where we kind of follow up from that, and where they find out where Nora and them are hiding, and where the hospital is, and where they're slowly starting to find Abby, to where we pick up here to where the episode starts. And what I'm very uh, kind of curious on why they decided to do it this season when they weren't gonna do it last season, which I thought it was weird they decided to do it this season. Was they finally introduced spores, which is like an air infection. In the game, you go through these sections and you go through these areas so where there's spores in the air, to where it's basically an infection in the air, and if you breathe it in, you get infected. It's not like you get bit by something, it's where you literally breathe the air and you get infected. They didn't do that in the first season, and they decided to do something different. I forget what it was, but it was like a plant-based thing. But for some reason, they decided to do it this season. And I'm not like upset about that. I'm more curious of why they decided to do it this season when they decided not to do it last season. But nevertheless, we kind of start the episode where they're talking about it, and they're discovering it and how they like blocked it off, basically, to where they discovered it. This girl's talking about it, how it's in the air and it's going to infect you, and if you don't block it off, we're basically all going to die, and it's going to spread off throughout the entire world, and we're just slowly going to breathe it in and die. To where what they do in here is to where there's these people that are infected. They've been infected for years, and I don't know how. I don't think this is what it is, but I'm pretty sure they're basically still alive in the human form, but they're slow. But it's basically a faith worse than death, to where they're slowly just breathing in the infection and breathing out spores. That is basically what it was, and I really enjoyed that about this episode. And I really, again, I was interested why they decided to do that, but I really like that about this episode. I really glad that they decided to stay closer to the game and stuff like that, but it's just like I get what they're doing, and it makes sense to why they would keep it underground, because like if it's not out in the world, then it would probably be underground in like certain areas. But again, it's just like I don't know why you just didn't decide to do that earlier before, and I don't know why you're just doing it now. But I was interested. I did think it was weird they decided to do it, but overall I was just like, okay, cool. We're following the game perfectly at this point already, which you already have, which you just put the stamp on there that you're following everything. And where the journey begins is to where Ellie and Dina are kind of figuring out where to go and how to get to the hospital. And I will say this. One thing I did not like that they changed in this episode from the game is what they did with Dina. Now, in the game, Ellie finds out Dina's pregnant, and she's kind of mad at her, and she's kind of furious that she didn't tell her and didn't let her know that she was pregnant, because then she kind of becomes a problem during the journey, because she has to look out for her more. She has to make sure she's safe, make sure that nothing happens to that child, make sure she doesn't die, so the child itself, excuse me, doesn't die. And so in the game, Ellie basically forces Dina to stay. But in this version, in the adaptation, Dina asks Ellie what she wants her to do, and she basically gives us this whole monologue of how when she was younger about the first person she killed, and basically she doesn't fear anything, and how she kind of relates to Ellie with Joel, and how her family and her like how her mother and her sister died basically in front of her, and she wonders if what if she was forced to watch them die, like how Ellie was forced to watch Joel die, and she wants just as much as revenge as Ellie does, and that convinces Ellie to let her go with her. And I get what they're doing there. I get what they're trying to say there, and I understand the change that they made, but it doesn't make any sense to me. In all reality, if you found out that she was pregnant and she asked you to go with her, I'd be like, hell no, you're gonna stay here, you're gonna protect yourself. The theater is blocked off, you're well protected. There's no reason for you to come with me, and for the sake of your own well being, you're gonna stay here. But for some reason, Ellie is clouded by the fact that Joel meant so much to Dina as well, and where she wants revenge when it's really Ellie that wants the revenge, and it's Dina's just going with her because she loves her. But like, I just don't like that change because it doesn't make any sense. Because literally, not an hour later into your journey, you're being attacked by a bunch of stalkers, and then all of a sudden she gets shot in the fucking leg with an arrow. Like you see that, it's just like, okay, you're literally just proving to me that Dina should have never come with her and never should have just stayed at the theater. That's just me. It's a small little change, but it just makes no sense to me because it's like, okay, at the end of the day, Dina still gets injured and now is gonna have to stay at the theater while Ellie goes on the rest of this journey. But it's just like, why wouldn't you just have her stay because she's pregnant, not because she's injured? But moving on from that, and I also really like that section in this episode where there's a bunch of stalkers in the room, where Ellie and Dina see like one of them is like, okay, we're gonna have to sneak up on them, and then they look up, there's like two. And then they look up again, there's five. And then all of a sudden they're looking all around them, there's like 11 of them at that point. That was a really creepy moment and a very well directed moment because it was really creepy because all you can see on the stalkers because it was like really dark when they filmed it. And like you can see the outline of them and all you can see is their eyes, like their bright eyes. And it was really creepy to me. And I really enjoyed that. That was one of my favorite sections in this episode. And then that's where we get the reintroduction of Jesse again, where Jesse is finally part of this story once again, because in the game, he shows up to save Ellie from a bunch of wolves, like attacking her and stuff like that, and then those two end up going on a journey and stuff like that, so where Jesse is now part of it, and now supposedly Tommy is now part of it, because him and Tommy came the day after they left to look for him, and they both split up to go look for him, which, again, is another change I don't know how I feel about, because in the game, Tommy, he goes out on his own to kill Abby. Like he makes it his own mission to go out and kill Abby. And the only reason that Maria let Ellie and Dina leave to go to Seattle and go after Abby was if they brought back Tommy. But Tommy in this just goes only goes to find Ellie, so where it's like reversed. And it's like, okay, I get that, but like I would have preferred to see Tommy go after Abby and her friends to kill him. Like, wouldn't you think he would have the bigger vendetta since he's the he's the little brother, and he would have a bigger vendetta to kill him? I have no clue. However, now we get to a section that I was really excited to see how they would recreate and how they would redo it from the game, which is probably one of my favorite scenes out of the entire game series is where Ellie finds Nora at the hospital. And if you don't know who Nora is, she is the black woman and who was the person that actually held down Ellie to and forced her to watch Joel die in front of her, and where she goes to the hospital and tries to find Abby and questions Nora. And it creates as one of this great moment where this is the reintroduction of spores to where she's dying in this basement basically of this hospital. Like the bottom floor of the hospital is just spores, and that's where Ellie gets gets introduced to the spores. And where she's sitting there and Nora is just dying. She's like, "You've killed us both," but then she sees Ellie's breathing it in and not coughing, and she's not dying. And then Nora realizes that Ellie is the little girl that was immune, that was meant to be the cure to all of this, but Joel prevented it. And that creates that great moment where, like, Ellie is just like, where's Abby? And stuff like that. And this, to me, again, to this scene, just proves to me why Bella Ramsey is doing such a great job in the role of Ellie. Now, for anybody for saying that she's not doing good, watch the ending of this episode. You will change your mind immediately because she does fantastic in my mind. Because where where it goes here is where she's questioning her and she grabs a metal pipe, just like from the game, and instead of just like hitting her off screen, it shows her just like beating her. And she's just hitting her leg, screaming, "Where is she?" And she's just questioning her. And then like Nora, before she starts hitting her, Nora goes, "Do you not know what he did? Do you not know what he did?" But she goes, "I know what he did." To where you, as an audience member, you're sitting there like, she knows that Joel prevented the cure from happening. Why is she not bothered by this? That's where we find out later on in the game, which we'll get to next week, which they're going to be adapting. But then Nora realizes, like, you don't care, like, why? But Ellie doesn't care either. She just wants Abby, and where she beats Nora to death, and that is one of my favorite scenes from from the game, and one of my favorite scenes that in the show already, because they recreated that moment beautifully. And what I fucking hate how they ended it was a flashback to where Joel walks in on Ellie and says, "Hi, kiddo," and then it ends. This was a very short episode, by the way. It was only like 40 minutes when every other episode's been like an hour long. But that kind of pissed me off. I was like, oh, you son of a bitch, you're going to end it like that. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I do have a few more issues than I usually have been with this series so far, but they're just little minor little things and all that. It's just little small changes from the game. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. But overall, I really enjoyed episode 5, which is Feel Her Love. I don't know if I said that at the beginning. But yeah, I really enjoyed episode 5. I do think it was a pretty good episode. I've been enjoying the series so far now where we only have 2 episodes left. And then it's season 3, and we might not get that till 2027. This is bullshit. But let me know what you guys thought about episode 5 down in the comments below, and we will talk about it. If you like this video, like it. If you love to subscribe to the bell notifications so you will get notified for all my latest videos. And of course, until my next video, I'll see you all next time.